YouTube. Sorry I haven't been able to get a video uploaded earlier in the week, Tuesday or Wednesday, but I've had a lot of things going on this week that I've had to take care of, and had a bad back as well, which didn't help, and weather's generally been a bit nasty. So today I'm coming out and doing this week's video, which is basic common wild edibles. And sorry, lots of flies around. It's sort of evening time at the moment, so it's a bit late in the day, but it's nice and quiet in the woods at the moment. I've had to refilm this beginning part because the first part, the sound didn't record, so hopefully it's going to work this time. So wild edibles, these are going to be the really basic wild edibles that are very common in the UK anyway. They are present in the United States, so North America, in the temperate climates, but then some of them aren't quite as common as they are here in the UK. So starting off, nice simple one, stinging nettles. Everyone in the UK, I think, has a rough idea what stinging nettles are, if they've ever walked in the woods or along the roadside or something like that. They tend to grow anywhere and everywhere, especially near concrete buildings or farm buildings and things like that. So here is a patch of stinging nettles I'm going to show you. You probably see them behind me anyway. There we go. That's all this lot here. From there, that way, there's some other things over in the background. So I'll try and lower this down a bit more so you can concentrate on this. And here we go. These are what stinging nettle leaves look like. Trying to find a clearer sort of picture of it. So try not to sting myself while I'm doing it. The stinging part of a stinging nettle is formic acid. The hairs on it are like hollow tubes basically, and each one contains a bit of formic acid at the top of it. Try and get this to focus again. There we go. And basically with stinging nettles, the leaves will grow in pairs opposite each other, and then the next pair will be at 90 degrees to it. So it'll grow all the way up the stem, alternating. Zoom out a bit. Alternating that way, then that way, then that way, then that way again in pairs. The parts you can eat all of a stinging nettle, but the parts you want really are the freshest shoots at the top, the freshest leaves, maybe 2 or 3 pairs of leaves, so between 4 and 6 leaves off the top there, and you need to gather those up. It's probably best to use gloves because they can sting. The fresh leaves tend not to sting quite as much, but they can sting the same. So always a good idea to wear some sort of leather gloves while you're picking them. As I say, they can all be, the whole plant can be eaten, but the younger leaves are the best. Older leaves tend to get a little bit more bitter as they age, so then they might not be to your tastes basically. Easiest way to eat them really, because you can't eat them raw obviously because of the formic acid and sting in your mouth and throat and everything like that. So the best way to get rid of the formic acid and neutralise it is to heat them up. You can do this by picking the stem of a whole one, stripping the lower leaves off so you've just got the main part of the top that you want to concentrate on eating, and then toasting it over an open fire gently. Doesn't need incinerating, but just toast it gently, and you can test it with your fingers just to sort of make sure it's not stinging anymore before you stick it in your mouth, but that's generally the best way. You can use the leaves in tea, making a sort of a nettle tea if you like. Ideally you want to collect the leaves, dry them out, and then shred them fine, because when they dry out they'll also lose their sting as well. But you can shred the fresh leaves and use them straight off the plant, and when you steep it or place it in boiling water, it will neutralise the acids as well. The heat in the water will do that. So that's the first one. It's a very healthy plant to eat, lots of vitamins in it, and I believe there's also protein in it as well. So I think there's not a huge amount of protein available in the wild, so it's a good source of that. The leaves can be placed in a salad as well, and they can form a kind of spinach, a replacement spinach leaf, if you like. But you can just eat the leaves as they are, or well, once you've heated them slightly or boiled them or dried them out, you can eat the leaves. Probably not too tasty dry, so it's better to boil them or slightly sear them over a fire, roast them slightly. Okay, on to the next one. Right, now this here is another very common one, a bramble or blackberries. Not so easy to tell when they haven't got the fruit on like this. The fruit will come later in the year, but they are reasonably easy to identify from the spikes, the prickles, the brambly part on the stems, and they'll be in large clumps. There won't be an odd one on its own usually, and they'll often be amongst nettles and dock leaves and other things like that. I'll put up some pictures at the end, like a little slideshow with some titles on of all the plants I've mentioned and showed you on the camera, just so it's a bit easier to identify. But these brambles, the leaves can be used as a tea, or in a tea, the same as nettles can, and obviously the fruits can be eaten raw, or you can cook them into a sort of jelly or jam by using other ingredients as well. So that's another very common one, easily identifiable usually, and that one actually lasts a bit later into the year as well than a lot of the other ones. This next one is one of my personal favourites. This is ramsons, also known as wild garlic as well, but there's a lot of things that are called wild garlic, so it's easier just to call them ramsons. You'll notice usually when you get near to these growing in the ground, you'll smell the garlic smell before you see them. This is a fairly small patch of them here. They usually cover quite large areas, and they never grow more than, I don't know, 8 inches, maybe a foot off the ground for the big ones. Easily identifiable by the white flowers on the top, the flowering heads, and the leaves are like a spear-shaped leaf, like this. Just try and show you that. Zoom in a bit. There you go. That's a sort of leaf, and if you tear it and sort of scrunch it around in your fingers and smell it, you will notice a very strong garlic smell from it, and this is probably one of the best flavourings, I think, in the woodland for adding to your cooking. Try and zoom in on some of the flowers. There we go. That's what the flowers look like on the tops of them. Where are we? Just there. You'll notice that they tend to have 6 petals coming off of the flower on each head, and that's helps you identify them compared to another one that I'm going to show you in a bit. All of this plant is edible, but the leaves are probably the best part to use, and if you harvest the leaves, you can come back to them. It won't kill them off, and you can keep harvesting leaves from them. You don't want to take too many leaves from each one, obviously, because that'll damage the plant, but a few leaves sort of off of a few of the plants, that's fine. You can dig up the bulbs and eat those like an onion or garlic, but obviously then nothing will grow from it again once you've eaten the bulb, so best to use that. And those can be used for sauces and pastes, or just as in with a salad as well, just give it a bit more flavour. You can cut the leaves lengthways, sort of down the length of them, and intertwine them and sort of rest them on top of meats if you're cooking meats like pigeon breast or beef or any other kind of meat really that you're searing or frying or whatever. So that's another good one for a bit of flavour. This is another nice one. This is Jack by the Hedge, also known as garlic mustard, and it's a little bit less common than all the other ones I've mentioned. Just try and zoom in on it. And this is the leaves rather. Oop. Right, that's the leaves. They've been said to look like nettle leaves, but they're not as hairy. There's a very small sort of hairy look to them, but they're not hairy, and they're sort of not as jagged for the teeth around the edges. And the easiest way to tell is when they're in flower and they've got these little white flower heads on them, very similar to the ramsons, and but these have 4 petals in a cross shape. I'll try and zoom in a bit on there. There we go. There you go. That's what those flower heads and leaves look like. They're a very mild garlicky flavour as well. Let's wait for the plane to go over. Sorry about that, had to wait for a plane to go over, a light aircraft. But these, you can eat the flower heads from them, although I've never tried that personally, so I couldn't say if they taste nice or not. The leaves you can eat and add them again, just like any of the other leaves that we've seen today. You could probably even steep them in a tea to make a Jack by the Hedge tea or similar beverage. They're a very mild garlic flavour to these, so if you're not too keen on garlic, these are enough to add a nice little tang to whatever it is you're cooking, like soups, stews, salads and things like that. So that's another good one to use. Sorry about this. Dandelion Clock obviously there, which is most people will know. Most of them in the country have started to go over from the yellow flowers to the clocks now, gone into seed. But you can still eat the leaves and the roots from these. You can eat the stems and the flower heads as well, but they're a mild diuretic, so you probably don't want to have too much of those because you'll dehydrate yourself. But the leaves are pretty nice in a salad as well. So I'll show you, I'll try and get a better picture of a leaf because I don't want to get rummage around in this. We've also got Jack by the Hedge over there, those leaves there, the crazy paving looking leaves, and right up the top we've got the little white flowers at the top there. So we've got brambles, nettles, dandelions and Jack by the Hedge all next to each other there. You'll probably notice some other wild foods as well if you're a wild food enthusiast, but I'm only sticking to a few really simple ones at the moment. Right, these are the your common dandelions. Try and find a head of one. So these have all gone to seed, and most of the seeds have blown away and come off. But you'll notice the leaf shape and pattern. This is the most common one in the UK or in England. There is another leaf pattern which is sort of broader all the way down. It's not so toothy like this one. That's where it gets the name from, the dandelion, because they look like lion's teeth apparently, the leaves. That's the sort of leaf you're looking for. That sort of size or bigger, anything bigger than that really. Anything smaller and it's not going to be that nice, to be honest. It's not going to have a lot of substance to it. It's a good alternative to lettuce. It goes in any salads or sandwiches that you you may want to add lettuce to, and you don't have any lettuce in the wild. So that's another good one. You can dig up the roots and dry them out, and then bake them in a Dutch oven or in your oven at home, and then grind them up and make a coffee with those as well. So you can make a dandelion tea as well, which uses the leaves. Chop the leaves finely, and ideally they want to be dried out first so they're crumbly, but chop them finely and then steep them as you would normal tea leaves again. So, and they're a very common plant and very easily recognisable generally. So that's that one. And last but not least is this one here, the cleavers, or stickyweed, sticky bird, whatever your local name for it is. Pretty easy to identify, and when you try and put your fingers underneath the leaves of it, you'll feel the little hooks that give it a sticky sort of sensation, like it's trying to stick to your skin, like that. In fact, it actually pulls off some of the leaves because it's so Velcro-like. Wait for the car to go past. So that ignore the dandelion head over there, but that's the one you're looking at. This one here. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. And pretty easy to identify with these thin leaves splaying out at various levels down the stalk. As I say, I put some pictures up so you can see it a bit easier. You can eat the flower heads at the top, or well, it would be where the seed grows normally, right at the top there. You can pick that off and eat that as it is. You can eat the leaves. You can boil the stem down, but it is very stringy and not very pleasant, and generally the taste isn't awfully pleasant, so it's not worth bothering with generally unless you really have to. So but that is another wild edible that's around. And here's some nice, that's the nice big dandelion leaves as well that I was on about, the leaves. Sorry, that's the ideal size to get and use for your lettuce substitute. And again, these are growing in amongst a lot of the other wild edibles as well. I've got the nettles over the back, stinging nettles, and there are also some dead nettles around as well. Right, this one here is the white dead nettle, and it looks just like nettles, the leaves and everything else about it looks just like a stinging nettle, but it doesn't sting, this one, and it has white flowers growing on them. You can get various colours of these. There's red dead nettle, and there's another one as well which is sort of a purpley colour, I believe. Not seen any of those when I've been in the woods, so I'll just stick to what I know. And these are the white dead nettles, and as I say, these don't sting. You can use the leaves for teas and nettle soups as well. It's not quite as rich in vitamins as the stinging nettles, but it's still pretty good for you. So that's that one, and that's really easily identifiable when they're in flower, because it'll look like a stinging nettle but with flowers, so very easy. Well, that's the video for today. I'm going to put up as I say, I'm going to put some photos, tag those on now after I've finished speaking of the various plants that we've seen around the woods, and try and give you a bit more clarity with what they look like. I'm also going to put a link in the description of the video down there to a PDF document for urban foraging. I can't remember what it's called. It's a pocketbook guide for urban foraging basically, and it covers all of the plants that we've seen today and a load more as well. So hopefully that will be of some use to you. There's some good pictures in there and a sort of good reasonable amount of information on each one, and it's free, so it's great. It's a good thing to download and keep on your phone or on your tablet if you take a tablet with you. In fact, I have it on here. I'll just try and get the the picture of it. There we go. Urban Foraging Guide. That's the title of it, and it's the pocketbook version, and it's got a fair bit of information in there. It goes through the legal information and precautions and tolerances and things like that at the beginning, which is all good information. And it's got some of the pictures, that's borage, and it's got various information and probably better photographs on there than some of the ones I can show you. There's 20, oh no, there's 60 pages altogether in that version. As I say, I'll put a link to the website where you can download a copy of that PDF, and there is actually a couple more other PDFs on their website as well, so well worth looking into. Okay, thanks for watching.